This week's Parsha, Parshat Yitro, is, of course, the Parsha that anyone who has ever been called upon to deliver a Dvar Torah dreams about. How many times have we slogged through the minutiae of tabernacle blueprints, or squinted through one eye at the harrowing medical descriptions of oozing body parts, just so that we could finally score this treasure of a Torah portion? This is the one, the giving of the Ten Commandments, the iconic scene in every movie of the Bible ever made, and the source of volumes upon volumes of commentary. So it would certainly seem like today's Dvar Torah should make good use of this biblical low-hanging fruit. But instead, I'd like to go off that well-beaten path and speak not about Aseret HaDibrot, the Ten Commandments, but rather more about Moses and the path that got him and the Israelites to this point. I think that in many respects, Moses was a bit of a tragic figure. Unlike the politicians of today who plan and fundraise and connive and network and place themselves gladly and willingly into the limelight, Moses was thrust into this position against his will. We don't learn much about his early life, other than his famous trip down the Nile in that basket when he was a baby, or that he grew up in a privileged Egyptian household. And perhaps the one telling incident about Moses was that he witnessed an instance of injustice, the taskmaster beating of the Hebrew slave, and he acted impulsively. But even that act of altruism was tarnished as Moses quickly looked around for witnesses and then furtively hid the evidence in a shallow grave. And when his act was discovered, he ran away, seemingly content to live the rest of his days in solitude, a simple shepherd in the wilderness of Midian. And even when God spoke so famously to Moses from the burning bush, Moses acts not as a potential leader, but rather as someone afraid to take on the mantle of leadership. Not once, and not twice, but 3 times did Moses argue, almost whine to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and command him to free the slaves? I am not a man of words. No one will listen to me." And finally God, within the space of mere minutes of choosing this man Moses to be the most important prophet in human history, begins to lose his temper with Moses. His meekness, his reticence, his reluctance to trust in God or in himself are galling. And God angrily assures Moses that he will be with him during the entire thing, and he can even bring his older brother Aaron along for additional support. So now we find Moses, Aaron, and the rest of the Israelites poised to fulfill God's destiny and receive Aseret HaDibrot after the amazing special effects-laden escape from Egypt. And who is the real hero of this story? A movie producer would term him a supporting character, almost a bit part, and it's none other than Moses' non-Hebrew father-in-law, Yitro. A man so underutilized and downplayed in the story, even his billing in the credits is questionable. Sometimes he's credited under the name Yitro, other times as Chovav, Yeter, Reuel, and others. Who was this guy? It begs the question, was Yitro an actual character or more of a guardian angel who sat on Moses' shoulder, guiding him on course? Because so far Moses is still lacking in the leadership department. He's completely overwhelmed dealing with hundreds of thousands of Israelites and all of their problems, complicated and mundane. He lacks any ability to delegate authority, and more tragically, we can infer that he sacrificed any balance of home life or relationship with his wife and his 2 sons, Gershon and Eliezer. We certainly don't hear much about them, except for one very telling detail. The text tells us, when Yitro heard all that God had done for Moses and the people Israel, how the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt, Yitro took Tzipporah after she had been sent home, and her 2 sons, and yes, the text even needs to remind us of their names, and brought them to him in the wilderness. Yitro sent word to Moses saying, "I am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons. And yes, the text specifically says her 2 sons, as if at this point he's barely even their father. So here we are at the defining moment of Moses' life as a leader, standing in front of the Israelites as they make their exodus from slavery. And Moses is arguably estranged from his family and utterly overwhelmed with the burdens of leadership. And who emerges as the voice of reason? It is Yitro, who teaches Moses how to delegate responsibility and reunites this family in crisis. Yitro, Chovav, Reuel, whoever this mystical and benevolent figure really is, it is he who is the true example of leadership. Yitro works behind the scenes and acts as a catalyst for positive results. May all of us who lead our own communities in so many ways, as clergy, pastoral counselors, teachers, administrators, and countless other capacities, make sure that we take heed of this parsha as a cautionary tale of the true costs of leadership. We must always seek balance. We must mentor others so that they can ease our own burden. And above all else, we must find our own Yitro, someone who understands and supports all that we strive to accomplish. Shabbat Shalom.